Hi, good morning friends. I'm going to talk to you today about multimodal composition of a curricula and pedagogy, which is quite important for all of us to get to know at this juncture, as most of us who are training online have a lot of limitations in making our curriculum quite effective. So how do we make it quite easy? That's my question. The question is how to make multimodal multimodal composition in our curricula and pedagogy. It can be done only if we have clear idea about how we can use creative constructs in our pedagogy. We need to really contextualize the curricular inputs. And it's quite important to use various forms of multimedia to create content related to specific module and rubrics and streamline those rubrics in accordance with learner interests or learner needs. And most importantly, we need to reconstruct the non-conventional modes of knowledge transfer or traditional modes of knowledge transfer with techniques of participative learning. We'll encourage collaborative learning of learners of various age groups, and it's also good to have at least various skill profiles of learners could be kept in mind while we try doing this. Every learner has a personality, has a goal, has some sort of a social background. So this ought to be kept in mind while we provide them various learning inputs. In other words, the mosaic of learning inputs could be reoriented in accordance with the style of the learners, the learning pace. Because some learners are very quick in learning things, whereas a few other learners might find it difficult to learn so fast. They need some more guidance. So that is very important for us to be rendered. Like, we have to make sure that there is an online guidance given to them all the time. There could be a support tutor available online to seek any kind of support for them or get clarified with any of their doubts. So let's try to explore the very idea of microlearning. In this very idea, we really look at very specific micro areas, and these micro inputs are quite important for the learner to customize the learning process. In other words, we as teachers could precipitate learning by personalizing the tools of learning, identify specific strategies which could be successful with a particular learning group. So categorize various learning groups within your class, strategize your learning inputs, understand the learner interests, and only when you understand the learner interests, you could really make them learn things faster, right? And more importantly, work on micro-testing. A lot of people today try to contextualize every aspect of learning by helping the learners to actualize it in real life. In other words, it's kind of a real life task engagement, which is quite important for the learners to make use of their learning potential. In other words, it should be a career-oriented learning or life-oriented learning. But we do get to know about the limitations of online learning. It is a reality that online learning has certain limitations. Let's accept it. Okay, it cannot replace direct learning, but how do we make it easy? How do we make it quite comfortable for the learners? What strategies do we use? That is our goal today. So what are we going to do? We make our learners understand various modes of learning. Use podcasts, use videos, use documentaries, use PDF files. You can make use of any sort of infographics, animation ways. Spend a lot of time on task creation. And remember, micro testing is quite easy. If you use automated testing tools, personalized testing tools, after every unit, you could conduct micro testing. You don't need to think about conducting a semester end test or end of the semester exam. No, please, end of the semester exams may not be the way to do things in this pandemic. We should think about using micro testing process monitor the learning progress every now and then. So that could help us to make sure that learning becomes very interesting for the learner. We could get to know how far they've learned, what have they learned, are they sure of implementing all that they have learned in real life, etc. Right. We should think about informal and formal networks of learner groups to be engaged on learning all the time. So there are task-specific inputs which could be improvised and given to them. They could make use of all these visual images or charts, by charts, diagrams, illustrations, all kinds of animation movies, documentaries related to a specific lesson, even poetry recitation, okay, cinematic rendering of a novel or a novella or a short story. All these could be the best tools of learning for students. And I'm sure most of you who have been listening to this have got some idea about how to make use of multimodal composition. And I've tried to make it quite easy for students by making sure that they could think about instantaneous interactions on any topic given to them, right? And more importantly, provide extensive learning opportunities for the learners. Help them to work on simple and easily achievable tasks, and then make it a little bit hard for them to progress further. It should be always based on easy, simple ways and means of learning. And we can always collaborate with other organizations to make learning faster and better. And it could also about actualizing what you've learned as theory into practice. So there could be systematic internships or fellowships possible for students to work with online or directly in order to make themselves better.